Welcome to episode 1 of Inside Wilmington College Athletics. I'm Micah Mills, Assistant Director of Athletics here at Wilmington College, and I'm sitting here with our head coach, Bryan Moore.
Micah Mills, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Nice to have you, brother. So, just finishing up camp. Where are we at right now with the program, and how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, overall, I feel great, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about our roster later, but from 4 years ago, when the year before I inherited the program, there was 3 seniors in this program.
Right.
And now, really 5 years later, there's 22 playing that are seniors, and then another 2 that are student coaches that chose to forego their last year of eligibility, and they're on our staff. So that part of the program is incredible. Just the professionalism, the less I got to coach to touch a line, unless all those little details, like the standard of the program is in those 22 guys. That was our first recruiting class, and now they're seniors. They've been through it, they know it, and now they're the ones coaching it, and now we get to do a lot more of our real job.
So that's awesome to see. So what's that like though? Going from that state, three seniors, to now looking at it with 22, as a coach, how's that feel? What's that look like?
Yeah, I don't know, because as a coach, you're always still critical when you have success. Like that number for us should be 30 at this point. I think if we would have had more success early, there's some things I wish I would have done differently early when I got here that I think would have helped grow that number on some kids. But it is a great feeling. I feel like college football is no different than high school football, and that's at any level of college. You win with talent and you win with experience.
Yes.
And when you're we're gonna have 22 seniors, and most of them are good players.
Yeah.
And that's who's playing on Saturday.
Yeah.
When we first got here, that first recruiting class, my second season, we started 9 freshmen between the 22 offensive and defensive positions.
Mm-hmm.
And we were playing teams that had 30, 35, 22-year-olds, okay, that have been chewing on 45-pound plates for 4 years, drinking Busch Lights for 4 years, and I'm playing with a team that 3 months ago were seniors in high school. And that's the same in high school, man. If you have a team of 25, 18-year-olds playing a team of 25, 15-year-olds, you do the math, and they're going to beat on them.
Yeah.
And those kids that are seniors, they had to go through that. There was no shortcut to it. They had to go through it. They had to survive it. They had to trust and believe that it was going to get better when there was no proof that it was. And those guys that are seniors in our program now, man, what a ride from the belief they had to have to now they're running this program. It's not as much player-led as what I would like it, but it is without a doubt a player-led football team.
That's awesome to see. And with that player-led and just seeing those guys run the show, I think you guys released your captains this last week. Kind of run through some of our captains and who you guys have that are actually been voted to lead the team this year.
We got a couple of holdovers from last spring. We voted for captains last spring, so we got a few of those guys back. We have 6 total captains, a couple repeat captains. Trey Parks is a safety for us and was part of that first recruiting class. A great, I don't know how in depth you want me to go with these, but I like to pump Trey up a little bit. Trey's first semester academically, I don't think he registered a point on either side of the decimal. Fought his way back to get a second chance, not through football. He fought his way back, talked to the right people to give me a second chance, and he cashed in on it. In his last 3 semesters, he's been on above 3.0 and on the dean's list.
That's awesome.
And he's a multiple-year captain, and he's the one that comes in with, he's the idea guy. Hey, what do you think about these T-shirts? What do you think about these awards? What about this? Taking care of our special teams and taking care of our scout team guys. He's been great as far as his development in 4 years, from a guy that wouldn't talk, we didn't know if he could talk, to a guy now that is at front and center of this football program. He's from a Columbus kid from Beechcroft High School.
Okay.
Another captain who's a Columbus kid from Beechcroft High School is one of his best friends, who, oddly enough, those two wouldn't shut up at our inter squad. I had to throw them off the field, going at each other. But it's Bryan, an All-American linebacker for us, and the linebacker of the year in the conference last spring. He was a captain as a sophomore as well. So He's a multi-year captain, and he's a guy too that he's everywhere on campus. You see him a lot. He works with the women's basketball team. Our vision of the program, the overlying theme has always been change, improve, deliver. Change the culture of the football program. Once you do that, that improves the entire college with our kids involved with it, and then eventually that filters over to the community, and we deliver a first-class community to our program. Change, improve, deliver. Tavion's a great example of that. He's everywhere. He's a great representation of our football program. Then Ben Petrie's a senior offensive lineman for us. He'll be a fifth-year senior for us, part of that first recruiting class as well. He's from Bourbon County, Kentucky, a Kentucky boy there, and he's had a great ride too of not seeing instant success right away. Had to wait for it, had to earn it, had to fight for it, and guys like that typically never get beat out.
Right.
If you've never had it and then you get it, you knew what it was like to never have it, and then you're never letting
give that back.
Never. So he's a great example there. Brandon Lemley's a defensive lineman for us. He's probably the biggest guy on our team. He's probably 6'6", probably 255 pounds, depending on what time of the day it is and when he ate last. But he's another one that came in at 6'6" and probably 215 pounds.
Yeah.
And Coach Philly says, you can't play. You might be able to play early because of where our program's at right now, but you can't be a good player in this conference, 215 pounds at 6'6".
Yeah.
And he went to work eating top burgers, man, and ate as many of them as he could. He listened and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm sure he eats healthier than just top burgers but he was a self-made player. He listened, was coachable on what he had to do to put his body in the right position to play. Now he's a great player and a captain for us. Then the other defensive end is really a similar story, and that's Brandon Weaver, who is in our athletic training program here and does a great job with that. A very high academic kid, but he was a kid too that just did not weigh enough, and he struggled to put weight on. But him and Lemley are two peas in a pod, man, and they, like you talk about the power of a teammate.
Yeah.
And in my house, it's hey, we got to shop together if we're going to try to lose weight, me and my wife. So you got to team up. They're the opposite end of that. We got to both gain weight together, and they held each other accountable to that. And Brandon, in a collection of 6 captains, are all unique. They all bring something to the table, and he is certainly the leader by example. He is not a talker. We try to put him in talking situations just to make him uncomfortable.
Right.
But he handles that role really well, of knowing, hey, that's not my strengths. My Tika Wynn, one of the premier receivers in our conference, and I think if you're a premier receiver in our conference, you're one of the premier receivers in the country.
No doubt about it.
Another kid from the Columbus City League who came in, and as a freshman, I was a wide receiver coach then as a freshman too. Probably the first 7 games, I didn't trust him enough to play him. I had some older guys that kind of knew the ins and outs. You could see his ability. It wasn't consistent. And then by the 7th game, we were just at that point, man, he's got some talent. We got to see what we can do with him. And he showed out. And then he came back his sophomore year, was a 1,000-yard receiver as a sophomore, and played in the spring. And then certainly he has another year if he wants to use the year next year. I hope he does. But again, he's a kid too that you look at, he chews on things. If you give him something that might make him a better player, a better student, he gonna do it.
Yeah.
He shot me a shot of just hit on a grease board in his apartment there of, hey, this academic game plan stuff is really hitting it. He's got everything mapped out to the second. But he really, you can see his work ethic at practice now is next level. That's a kid preparing for something special. Yeah. His mental approach every day, him and all those guys, it's a very, very professional attack to where when they're younger, you don't really know what they're going to get, what they're dealing with school, social life, family life, but these guys have, level-headed there. So that's a collection of 6 really, really guys I love. I love those kids. They sacrificed for me. They believed in this program from day one, and I want nothing but success for those guys.
Yeah, I love hearing that. Captains are usually an extension of us as coaches.
Right.
And so when you can have 6 that you wholeheartedly trust and believe in, that's exciting.
It is.
That's definitely exciting. So as you're going through your roster, going through your team, who are some names? I know you just went through your 6 captains.
Yeah.
Who are some names and some guys that we might need to get to know this year? Their numbers, their names, some guys that you're excited about for the season.
It's really the sophomore class. They played their first college ball in the spring, so just a few months ago. But we played a lot of those freshmen in the spring, just through COVID stuff and all that stuff. Like, hey, here it is, go play 5 games. Zarius Stinnett is our nickel on defense. He was an all-conference kid for us as a freshman last year and is everywhere. Like, he is lightning in a bottle, but it's a really, really small bottle.
Yeah.
He's probably 5'6". He is like the modern day version of like London Fletcher when I played at UNC, where Fletch was a little shorter, just a bowling ball, and he's got explosive feet, very, very physical, and again, he's going to be a sophomore this year and is a very, very good player. Makes our defense nice. It's a very dynamic position, and he fits it very, very well. And his backup in that position is Eli Berner, who missed all of spring with an injury, but was a starter as a freshman. So we got great depth at that position there. Jared Lee plays the star in our 3-high defense. He was an all-conference guy as a freshman last year, and he runs.
Yeah.
That is his thing. Sometimes he runs himself into trouble a little bit, but most time, he's about as aggressive of a safety that I've seen in a long time this OAC, where he really has no fear of failure.
Okay.
And he's going to go try to make plays, and if he's screwed, it will not affect him.
Yeah.
It will not. He has a lot of self-confidence in his ability, and I think Coach Brown, our safeties coach, really instills that into him, that, hey, go play. You got some serious playmaking ability. Or a couple of guys there. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Lathan Jones, a wide receiver.
He played for you a little bit last year. Had some big catches like that.
Yeah, and that's a stacked room.
Yeah.
There's probably 8 OAC caliber wide receivers, and he stands out because he's 6'4" and runs like a gazelle. And so he had some success last spring. He had some bouts with inconsistency too. But in the short break that we've had, you can see how much he's matured in his professionalism. I think that's because he's around Itikas and stuff like that too. So that's starting to filter down to our young kids. But he can run, he can jump, play the ball in the air, and he's 6'4", which is, when you got something that you can't coach, that's always, you can't coach 4.3 speed, and you can't coach 6'4", so that's a luxury as well. So on the offensive side, those names from really our sophomore class were a couple of guys, without going into everybody, that really showed some pop there last year.
For sure. So this will be the first year, in the last, since I can remember, that Kyle Barrett will not be your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So what's kind of like that quarterback battle been like this off season, and where are you guys kind of at right now? I think this is this is going to be out on Friday, so I'm not sure if you want to release the name or anything like that, but where are we kind of at?
I'll keep the names out of it, not for recruiting's sake, but just it was a true battle between really a senior and a sophomore. With KB, we really planned on him being back here this fall with Kyle, and Kyle broke his foot in the spring season and that thing wasn't going to be ready. He played on that darn thing all spring and just wasn't going to be able to have surgery and get back and play. He's on our staff now and does a fantastic job on our staff, man. He's got a profession there if he wants it. So then we had a senior and a sophomore, and a couple and a junior that were all kind of 3 in the mix there coming into this season, and it was a pretty steady heat there, and really what came down to the end of it was numbers. I think that's as we were talking about earlier in football, the 2 positions that you could just look at numbers and say, hey, this guy's producing better than that guy. Our kickers and kickers, punters, and then certainly your quarterbacks. And when it came down to the numbers, we were going to go with the sophomore to start this thing and get this thing rolling. And he's going to have his hands full in week 1 and play his first college start. But I don't think there's a bad choice to be made. It was fairly even. You got to make a call on one of them. And again, I'm sure Coach Thomas is probably in the same philosophy with me. I don't believe in a 2-head monster system. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. I think it's always better to commit to one so he knows that, and then if he plays himself out of the position, and we had a very, very capable guy that's ready to step in too and go there. So we're on that side of things, we're very, very fortunate that we do have some depth and some quality depth at that quarterback position for sure.
Last year it seemed like you guys took a drastic jump on the defensive side.
Yeah.
So like Coach Philly really made some strides over there with the guys, and obviously Tavion, all-conference linebacker, and some conference of the year, linebacker of the year in the conference, a couple all-conference guys, and made some big jumps statistically as well. Where does that jump have to come from this year within the program? Where's you kind of like, we got to take another jump in this area. Obviously, you want to double down on the defensive side,
sure,
things that you did well, but where's the next jump that?
I think the missing component is in the kicking game. And I'm the special teams coordinator, so it's gross we haven't fixed it to the level I want it yet, but I'm not ready to fire myself. The defense, and even offensively last year, we struggled to score the ball, but man, our amount of first downs, our time of possession, the turnovers and ability to put the ball in the end zone hurt us offensively, but there were some great strides there. Coach Thomas's first year calling plays. The defense went through the roof in the second year of their new scheme, and then the special teams has to, but I think that usually comes third. Mm-hmm. Very, very rarely does that come first. That usually comes third. Once your players are, because you're playing a lot of starters on special teams, once they're comfortable being a linebacker, and what Tavion is, now he looks, well, how else can I get better? Well, shoot, now, man, on these special teams units, that's my next jump spot to shine. So I think we're at that point. Yeah, and all young guys want to play on special teams, but there's a reason they're not our starting linebacker in the first place. And if you got a bunch of those guys trying to do stuff that, again, in high school, special teams aren't always the most coached thing, and trying to do it at this level without experience can be scary. So we're at that point too. We do have a lot of young guys filtered in there, but our best players are on those units, and it's now important to them to try to get better at those individual techniques. And I think that unselfishness, they see the opportunity there. Again, that's the player-led side of things, is this can be better, and we're going to take care of it.
Love it. Well, looking forward to seeing that jump this year. Speaking of this year, we're coming up on it. Game days in 2 days. Yep. Finally is back here. What's kind of that, week one, there's a lot of unknowns. Yep. Opponent, what players are ready to make steps. Where are you kind of at with, where we're ready to go against Southern Virginia? Right?
We could be playing the Patriots, or, we could be playing Southern Virginia. I think I'm going to feel the same way in week one. You never feel good.
Yeah.
At least me. You never know. Did they change their own? We got their film from last spring, but in the course of a few months, we've changed a lot of our stuff.
Yeah.
What did they change that we can't prepare our guys for?
Right.
The unknown. What are they doing in kicking game? Are they running reverses? Are they doing flea flicker? Some of that stuff terrifies you because you can't prepare your guys for it in week one. And football's never clean in week one. It never goes smooth. There's always a lot of penalties. There's always a lot of turnovers. There's always a lot of big plays. You'll get a coverage bust or a missed tackle. So that stuff is very, very terrifying. Again, the nice part of having a bunch of upperclassmen playing for you and not freshmen, it's not new to them.
They've seen a lot.
So that's a little bit more comforting. Mm-hmm. But we are going to start a first-year starter quarterback.
You're right.
Okay, so again, that is unnerving.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have trust in the kid. It's just, man, this is it. This is his first shot at this thing. How's he going to react? How's everybody going to react around him? We're going to start and play a bunch of young guy in the backfield for us too. That again, those are two pretty. They touch the football a lot.
Yeah.
And they're putting that in some guys that don't have a lot of experience. It's a little nerve-wracking going into that. And then again, we don't know our opponent very well either.
Yeah.
Coming in from Southern Virginia, there's no coaching connection, no coaching ties. We have 3 games that are filmed from the spring, but you don't know, how many of those guys were their guys? How many were in quarantine or isolation? Were they doing things different? We were doing things different, so you don't have a real good feel for what they're trying to do in the 3 phases of the game. So I'm glad it's at home.
Yep.
No doubt about that. And our home game day atmosphere here has been pretty incredible the last couple of years. So there's some definite comfort in the fact that I don't worry about our team coming out and starting.
Yeah.
I don't worry. Can we play 4 quarters and finish? we'll find out, but I am not worried at all about a fast start. I know we'll have that at home.
Love that. Love that. Speaking of that fast start, what are some of those keys that we're looking for on Saturday to make sure we come out on top? What are some things that you need to see to make sure that it goes down the right way?
Yeah, week ones I think is all about early momentum, and that's the nice part about playing at home is that we should be able to start fast. Our defense is all back. We didn't lose anybody on defense, so they got to carry us early and really take the momentum right away with not letting them flip the field, pinning them, getting short fields and stuff like that, and really helping out a young quarterback, a young running back, to get their feet wet, cut their teeth, and get into the flow of the game until their emotions calm down.
Yeah.
They're going to be on a level that you can't prepare them for.
No.
So they're going to go through that early. Can we settle them down? And week one is always ugly, so it's always going to be personal fouls and penalties can set you behind, and then it's always, and especially week one, it's taking care of the football.
Yeah.
And you can't beat yourself by giving away the ball. And I think if we take care of that with a veteran defense, any slow start that we get offensively, or if our special teams aren't clicking on all cylinders, if we can count on one of those three phases to show up in the first half and dominate in the first half, I believe we'll settle in and be fine.
Okay, good. You talked about it. This is kind of our wrap up here. You talked about a couple times now playing at home and the atmosphere here. I guess what's it been like, the support you've been able to get from the parents, from the fans, the student body, from the community, and then also, what are you looking forward to most about having everybody back at these fall events?
Yeah. Oh man, you miss a ton of that in the spring. I think you take for granted how much home field advantage means when it's now just a piece of grass and there's no people involved with it. But really looking forward to that. Our parents club is absolutely incredible for how they've grown that tailgate area, what they do for our players after games in the form of food and all this. They'll do a senior dinner. They do so much stuff that I really don't. All I do is put a stamp of approval on it, and they take it and run. It is a very, very tight family within our parents, and watching that grow is incredible. I know, we had our scrimmage last week against Hanover, and they were tailgating for a meaningless scrimmage, 2.5 hours away, and they were talking about, this Saturday, hey, open up that tailgating lot at 9 in the morning. We're going to be there. We're going to be ready to go. We've got motorcycles coming in, the smoke machine, the inflatable helmet, all through the parents club. So that part of it, there's we had an inter squad scrimmage 2 weeks ago. And not really paying attention to really who was there or anything, because our backs are to the stands. But at the end, we brought everybody together, and now I'm kind of facing the bleachers, and the scrimmage is over. It's an hour and a half scrimmage, and I'm like, oh my, that. I don't know how many our bleachers seat, but that was full.
Yeah.
And the tailgating lot was absolutely full for an inter squad scrimmage, and that was what I told our players at that point. I was like, hey, take a quick peek here. We didn't have this many people at homecoming my first year here, and now this is an inter squad scrimmage just between ourselves, and the tailgate lot's full. The bleachers are full. People are dying to get back and watch you guys play football, and in a short amount of time, you guys have changed everything about this community, or everything about this game day atmosphere, which at that moment is probably when it hit me, when I looked at them, man, what are they doing here? This is a practice for us.
Yeah, right.
For them, it was an opportunity to get back to it and be around it and celebrate it. So I can imagine, man, our first two home games, the home opener, then our second one is homecoming.
It's going to be
this place is going to be, rocking pretty good. So pretty exciting.
Awesome. Well, hey, Coach.
You can't stop yet, though.
Why's that?
Because I'm always trying to learn, too.
Okay.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to flip the script on you. Just for my own benefit, I ask this question to basically anybody that we have as a guest speaker or anything like that. But what is the best advice you ever got, and who gave it to you?
Oh.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's deep.
Oh. Man, I'm gonna stick to football here. I have a great relationship with my high school football coach. Still text him every game day in the fall, every Friday. We have a text exchange. Coach Dan If, actually, and I in college actually I had a couple setbacks, and I remember he sent me an email one morning. I still remember to this day, and the first line of the email said, champions always get back up. And he went back through it, and he talked about, you're going to get knocked down at different things, and just that simple phrase, champions always get back up, is just something I've always carried with me. Anytime I go through a hard time, anytime I have a setback and a challenge, and my high school football coach is the reason why I got into coaching.
Yep.
And so, that one, sticking with the football theme is definitely one that is great advice that I got.
Yeah, very good. Powerful stuff, man. Good for you.
So, appreciate you coming on the show this week, and get back to game planning here, and let's go out and get a win on week 1.
No doubt. Appreciate you.
All right.
All right.